So today I'm going to tie a quill-bodied CDC Dun. This is tied on a grip size 16 11011BL, which is that hook there. But it's pretty similar to the Tiemco 103BL, and also similar to the Hanak 130BL, similar shape. And again, it's also similar to the Partridge Fine Dry SLD. So they've all got quite a similar shape. You can choose whichever hook that you want. On this pattern here as well, I don't know how well it'll pick up on the camera, I've got a tiny little bit of flash in underneath the tail, and that's just tied in with just a bit of crystal flash and pearl. But I won't tie that one into this pattern I'm going to do now, but you can add it if you want. So like I said, this is a size 16. Put it into the vise. There we go. Thread is Danvilles spiderweb, really fine thread. Had it snap on me about 5 times trying to do this video, which is always a good sign, but it is actually quite strong for the size of the thread. Just got to be careful with it. So I'll tie in the length of the shank, trim off. Next is the tails, so I just use Coq De Leon. Just a bunch of tail fibres, I don't count how many. So the tails want to be the length of the body, maybe a tiny bit longer. You can always shorten them if you do a few loose wraps to tie them on. So you want to sit them on top, a couple of loose wraps, and I'll splay them in a minute. Just make sure you're happy with the length. They are slightly long. That's probably better. Like I said, I'll splay those later. So catch that in to your tie-in point. Trim away the tag ends. Next is the wing, CDC wing. So I've lined up 3 plumes of CDC already, and this is just Cook's Hills Wild Mallard CDC. So nothing fancy about these. And again, proportion wise, you want the wing to be about the length of the body. But like the tails, I'll tie it in slightly longer and can always shorten up. So nice loose wraps. And try and leave a nice clear gap for the in front of the eye, for the thorax. And now you want to trim away tag ends, slight angle, bit of taper. We're on quite loosely, so this is where I'm going to tighten up. That looks to be tapering quite nicely. And now just display the tails. Wrap underneath. Sit them up. Perfect. Next, you're going to want the quill. So these are just a few that I've stripped from a Peacock eye earlier on. I have got some ready stripped ones actually from Fish On, but these ones have got a slightly better colour to them. Try and get one out. So you want to tie this as close into the tail as you can. A couple of loose wraps, and then lift the quill up. So I've got the dark side down at the bottom, but by holding it up it makes it easier to get the first couple of winds on in the right direction. Bring the thread up to the top to where you've tied in the wing, and now just wind it on by hand. And just take your time with this, there's no rush. I'll just try and get one more in there. This is where the spider web comes into its own. With it being so thin, you can get quite a few wraps to tie off the quill and really secure it in, whereas a thicker thread you might struggle to get as many wraps in without making it too bulky. This just sinks in. That should be in well enough now. Just careful not to snip the thread off. You could break this off actually if you wanted to, but that'll be fine. Because the peacock quill's a bit delicate, just put a little bit of UV resin on. This is just a Deer Creek UV resin. So use an old dubbing needle for this. A small amount, make sure it's evenly. Got a hair on the end of there. Evenly applied. Try and take a bit off. There we go. And then the UV light to set the resin. Doesn't take too long to dry. So I do that before I tie the thorax in, because when you put the squirrel for the thorax, it ends up going all over the resin, which is not what you want really. So you cock the wing up, hold it up with quite a few turns of thread. Does need quite a bit to set the wing up. You can use the mole dubbing in a minute to do the job actually. That's not too bad at all. I am actually just going to quickly tie off, because this thread has snapped on me a few times. It'd be a shame to get to this point and have it snap. Just a 2-turn whip finish. So that's going nowhere now if that snaps. Tiny little bit of mole makes the squirrel easier to dub on. Probably too much there, and that's only a small amount of mole, but that'll be okay. And then red fox squirrel to finish off the thorax. A small pinch. It's going to look really messy. It doesn't always work first time as well, but just try and get as much as you can on, and a thin sort of doing noodle, as they call it in America. Need to shorten off. It will look messy. That's going to really sit the wing up, and you can just dig into it a bit with your thread, and then clear the eye up, a couple of wraps, and then get your whip finishing tool and finish off. And because it is thin thread, I'm not going to varnish it, I'm just going to tie a couple of whip finishes in there. One for look. There we go. Just tighten off a little bit. So the wing's ideal length. Let's have a look. There we go, that's the quill-bodied CDC done. Give it a go.